Let me tell you how a single glass of champagne nearly erased me, and how I turned that very moment into the biggest revelation my toxic family never saw coming. It was my brother Tyler's 5th wedding anniversary. The kind of event where everyone dresses too fancy, lies through their perfect teeth, and pretends we're one big, happy American family. But don't let the string quartet and the champagne fool you. That night was a ticking time bomb wrapped in candlelight and fake smiles. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I stood near the back of the ballroom in a beige dress my stepmother insisted I wear. I hated it. It was tight at the waist, uncomfortable at the chest, and screamed, "Blend in and shut up." That's what Sharon always wanted from me. Silence and invisibility. People were laughing, taking selfies, clinking glasses. And there I was, holding a drink I didn't even want, watching everyone praise Tyler and his picture-perfect wife, Madison. Dad was glued to the mayor. Sharon was throwing around her fake laugh like a weapon, and I was barely acknowledged. And then, I started to feel strange. Not drunk. No, I wasn't even tipsy. It was something else. My limbs felt loose. My head felt foggy. My balance wobbled just enough to make me nervous. I put the glass down and slipped out toward the restroom. I needed space. I needed to breathe. That's when it happened. A woman, maybe late 30s, sharp eyes, auburn hair and a no-nonsense bun, stopped me near the hallway. "Are you Avery?" she asked. I hesitated. "Yeah." She leaned in. Her voice was low, serious. "Your stepmother just dropped something into your drink." I blinked, not sure I heard her right. "What?" She pulled something from her clutch. I saw her. "Dropped it in your glass, stirred it once. Dissolved right in." Looked like nothing happened. But I know what I saw. I do security for high-profile events. This wasn't an accident. My throat dried up. "You need to act fast," she said. "Whatever it is, you shouldn't drink it." My stomach twisted. I already took a few sips. "How do you feel?" "Off. Dizzy." "That's enough. Listen, if you can swap glasses. Make it look like a mistake. But don't drink it." She handed me her card. Elise Duran, private security. I still have it. I thanked her. My heart was pounding. Everything in me screamed to run, but instead, I walked calmly back to my table. Sharon was distracted, chatting with the event photographer. Her glass was still sitting there, nearly identical to mine. So, I swapped them. Clean. Quick. Nobody noticed. And then, I waited. 20 minutes later, my father stood up to give his classic "To Love, Loyalty, and Legacy" speech. The room quieted. Glasses rose. Sharon lifted the one I'd placed in front of her. She looked straight at me as she sipped. I stared back. Seconds passed. Then, her smile twitched. Her eyes narrowed. The glass slipped from her fingers. It shattered on the floor. Sharon swayed. For a second, I thought she was drunk. Then she dropped. Right there, in front of 120 guests, in the middle of her husband's toast, Sharon collapsed to the floor, twitching slightly, her breath coming in sharp bursts. People screamed. Madison gasped. Tyler rushed forward. Waiters knocked over trays. My dad shouted for someone to call 911. And me? I didn't move. I sat still, heart racing, hands steady. Because I knew that glass was meant for me. What's next? What no one realized in that moment was that the drama had only just begun. The hospital would run tests. The police would ask questions. And secrets buried deep in my family's polished image would start bubbling to the surface. See, Sharon didn't just want to hurt me. She wanted to erase me. But I wasn't about to let her. The ambulance lights painted the front of the estate in red and blue, like a slow, bleeding nightmare. Sharon was unconscious when they wheeled her out. She had started foaming slightly at the mouth by the time the paramedics got there. And the irony? I wasn't scared. Not anymore. She'd tried to poison me. I had proof. I had a witness. And I'd watched her sip the very glass she had meant to be my undoing. Everyone else? They were in chaos. Madison was sobbing. Tyler kept yelling at staff like someone had spilled water instead of a woman collapsing mid-toast. My father just stood there, frozen, gripping a half-full glass of whiskey like it was the last piece of his reality that made sense. Police arrived within the hour. They were polite, calm, efficient, but I saw the way they glanced at me when they asked for statements. Miss Clark, were you sitting near the champagne? Yes, I said. We all were. Did you notice anything unusual about Sharon's glass? I paused, then answered carefully. Not until she fell. I knew they were already piecing it together. Sharon didn't just randomly collapse. She didn't choke.
She didn't slip.
It was something else. And in a room full of champagne, the glass would hold the truth. The next morning, I didn't sleep. I sat in my tiny apartment in Midtown, curled on the couch, staring at the business card the woman, Elise, had handed me. I was still trying to wrap my head around it all.
Why?
What was in it for her? What could be so serious that Sharon would try to drug me at my own brother's anniversary party? The question spun in my head until my phone lit up with a text from Jenny, my cousin. Girl, you are trending. I opened the thread. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, they were blowing up with hashtags like hashtag Clark collapse, hashtag anniversary disaster, and hashtag what was in the glass. A video was already circulating. It showed Sharon laughing, sipping her drink, then collapsing. The camera then panned, right to me.
Me.
Sitting still. Not running. Not gasping. The comment section? Brutal. Why is she not shocked? Did anyone else see that look between her and Sharon? Chilling. Honestly chilling. I wasn't surprised. People love a villain, especially if you're the black sheep in a wealthy, white-collar family. But they didn't know the truth.
Yet.
The police call me in. Around noon, I got a call from the detective assigned to the case, Marissa Keene. Her voice was measured, professional. We'd like to speak with you again, Avery. Can you come in? Of course. I didn't hesitate. That alone made her pause. I could hear it in her silence. At the station, the walls were a dull beige, the kind that strips your soul. I sat across from Keene, her fingers laced on a thin folder between us. She didn't open it immediately. She just stared at me, sizing me up. We have the toxicology report, she finally said. I nodded, steady. Okay. There was scopolamine in the glass. Small dose. Not lethal, but enough to confuse, disorient. Possibly trigger a fainting episode, memory loss, or worse, depending on the body's response. I didn't blink. I believe it. You believe it? She raised an eyebrow.
Yes.
Because I was supposed to drink that glass. Keene leaned forward. Explain. And I did. I told her about Elise. I told her about the warning about the swap. I didn't hold back. She sat in silence for a moment. Why do you think your stepmother would do something like that? I looked her dead in the eye. Because she found out that I know the truth. She cocked her head. What truth? She's not entitled to a dime of my mother's estate. And I have proof. That got her attention. The clause that changed everything. 2 months earlier, I'd received an envelope postmarked from Savannah, Georgia. Inside was a letter from my late mother's attorney. Apparently, after my mom passed, there had been a legal clause tucked away in the prenuptial agreement between her and my father. The clause was simple. If my father remarried, his new spouse was legally forbidden from receiving anything connected to my mother's assets, including investments, trust funds, or property built from them. But Sharon? She didn't know. Or maybe she did, and she thought no one else ever would. Until I found the letter. And like an idiot, I made the mistake of mentioning leverage on a phone call I thought was private. She must have heard. Or someone told her. Because everything changed after that. Suddenly, I was getting invited to events I was usually left out of. She sent me a dress for the anniversary party. Her pick, not mine. She smiled more, but complimented me in front of guests. It wasn't kindness. It was a trap. And she never thought I'd be smart enough to see it. Keene's warning. Detective Keene stared at me like she was reading a locked journal. You understand how this looks, right? She asked. I nodded. You swapped the glasses. Sharon drank what was meant for you. Now she's hospitalized. That's motive, Avery. That's premeditation for someone. And it's not going to stay quiet. I didn't poison anyone, I said. I just didn't drink what was meant for me. You're safe, she said gently. But if Sharon tries to spin this, she'll make it about you. We need that letter. And we need to hear from your witness again. Then I'll give you both. What's next? The moment I left that station, I knew my life wasn't going to be the same. Sharon would wake up. She'd lie. She'd twist it. She'd call me a manipulator. Maybe even say I faked the whole thing. But the truth? The truth had already been set in motion. That night was meant to be my silent exit from this family. Instead, it became the first chapter in my long, quiet revenge. And I was just getting started. I didn't even make it back home before the first phone call came in. Tyler. I let it ring twice before I picked up. Avery, what the hell is going on? What do you mean? Don't play dumb, he snapped. The police came to the house. They're asking about you. About what you knew. Did you tell them something? I stared ahead as I walked down the sidewalk. I told them the truth. There was silence. Then he said, low and angry, "Do you have any idea what you've done?" She tried to drug me, Tyler. You don't know that. I do. I saw it. And someone else saw it too. A security officer. Her name's Elise. He exhaled sharply, but he didn't deny it. That told me everything. I'm not going to be quiet anymore, I said. You all spent years acting like I didn't exist, and when I finally get something my mother wanted me to have, Sharon decides she wants me gone. I'm telling you, he said, his voice rising. Don't push this. You're going to regret it. I hung up. The lawyer's office smelled like lemon oil and old paper. I handed over the copy of the prenup clause in a sealed envelope. My mother's original signature was still there, in ink I'd traced 100 times with my eyes. The firm's head attorney reviewed it, and after 5 minutes of quiet reading, he looked up at me and said, "This changes everything." I nodded.
Yeah.
I know. He said, "If this goes to court, Sharon's entire financial foundation collapses. Half the houses, the cars, even her business assets, they were all pulled from your mother's residual estate. She has no claim." She knows that, I said. That's why she tried to get rid of me before it came out. He sat back, stunned. We'll need to move fast. I gave him full consent to proceed. I was done letting other people decide what I was worth. 3 days later, Sharon was released from the hospital. She didn't call, didn't text, but a legal notice showed up at my door, her lawyer accusing me of malicious defamation and deliberate endangerment. I smiled. She was scared. Good. The next family gathering wasn't supposed to be a confrontation, but I showed up anyway. At my father's estate, I walked in like I belonged because I did. Tyler's eyes widened when he saw me. My father just frowned like I was a stain on his carpet. Sharon walked in late. She was pale, lips tight, posture stiff. When her eyes met mine, I watched something flicker. Fear, maybe, but buried beneath years of entitlement. "Hello, Sharon," I said softly.
She didn't respond.
She just sat down across from me. I leaned forward. "How's your memory doing these days?" "Still a little foggy." My father stood. "Avery, not now." I ignored him, because mine's crystal clear. So is the security footage. So is the clause in Mom's prenup. Tyler slammed his glass down. "You're going to destroy this family." I looked him dead in the eye.
No.
"I'm going to expose the part of it that was already rotting." 2 days later, Sharon went on the attack. She gave an exclusive interview to a local news blog that always covered charity galas and upscale fundraisers. She painted herself as the victim, blindsided by her troubled stepdaughter, suffering memory loss from a mysterious reaction, and claiming I had always struggled with resentment since her marriage to my father. She didn't mention the prenup, or the fact that I had nearly passed out the night of the party, or that a licensed private security guard had witnessed the whole thing. No, she wanted pity. The headline read, "Sharon Clark speaks out. I was targeted by my husband's daughter." And for a moment, I'll admit, it stung. Because people believed her. The comments were brutal. Why would she hurt Sharon at a celebration? Jealousy is an ugly disease. Another spoiled rich kid craving attention. I wasn't surprised. Sharon had money, charm, and friends in every committee in Georgia.
Me?
I had a dead mother, an old envelope, and the truth. But truth doesn't shout. It waits. Elise called me that night. You saw the article? She asked. I did. You ready to make a move? I think it's time. We met the next morning at a downtown cafe. She came with a flash drive, some printed transcripts, and security footage I hadn't seen yet. One clip showed Sharon looking both ways before dropping something from her clutch into a champagne flute. Another showed her whispering something to the server, who was later found to be a part-time employee, gone by the time police came. It wasn't just personal. It was planned. Elise nodded at me. Release it. All of it. She made her move. Make yours.
So I did.
I gave it to a small but respected independent reporter. Someone who owed Elise a favor. They posted everything. No commentary, no accusations, just video, transcript, timeline. Within 2 hours, Sharon Clark was trending again. Only this time, people were asking questions. Why does she look so calm before the reaction? Is that a pill in her hand? That server disappeared right after? Sketchy. My inbox flooded. And then my phone rang. It was my father. I let it ring 4 times before I picked up. He sounded tired. Quiet. Avery, we need to talk. I didn't say anything. I didn't know about the prenup, he said. If I had, things might have been different. No, I said coldly.
They wouldn't have.
You let her bury me long before she tried to drug me. He exhaled. What do you want? I paused. I want the truth public. I want her out of my mother's house. And I want what was always mine with interest. Silence. Then he said, come by tomorrow. We'll talk terms. I hung up. Not because I needed permission anymore, but because I had finally become the one person this family never expected me to be. Unstoppable. I showed up the next morning dressed in the same beige color Sharon once forced on me, but this time, I chose the dress.
Fitted. Clean.
Confident. The house felt colder than I remembered. Sharon wasn't there. Just my father, sitting at the head of the dining table like a man who finally realized the kingdom he ruled was made of sand.
He slid a folder toward me.
You win, he said. I opened it. My mother's trust reinstated. Assets transferred. Her name listed. My name respected. She's gone.
I asked.
Left last night. I don't know where.
I did. She ran. He looked at me.
For the first time in years, it wasn't with anger or disappointment. It was shame. I should have protected you, he said quietly. I didn't answer, because deep down we both knew he didn't try. The house was mine again within the week. The one my mom built. The one Sharon redecorated like she was erasing every trace of her. I had it deep cleaned. I put back photos Sharon boxed up. I restored the garden she'd let wither. Then came the knock. Tyler. He looked rough. Tired. Like the public fallout had finally cracked his perfect shell. I need to tell you something, he said. I folded my arms. Then say it.
He looked down.
I knew about the pill.
She told me.
Said it'd just make you too out of it to talk. I didn't think she'd actually do it. I blinked, slow. So, you stayed silent. I was scared. Of her? Or of losing your inheritance? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. I closed the door. Weeks passed. Sharon's name was dropped from 2 nonprofit boards. A few of her business partners pulled out. Whispers followed her everywhere.
Me?
I stayed quiet. Didn't do interviews. Didn't post revenge selfies. I let the truth do its work. Because sometimes survival is the loudest revenge. And the girl they tried to silence? She's the one writing the ending now.